Hello, I am Carolyn, your host. Welcome to Weekly Minis, your bite-sized workshop on the hottest acro topics. You can reference all of our previous Weekly Minis and more amazing content on our Acrobatic Arts channel on YouTube. If you have any questions while we're live, drop them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer those for you at the end of the presentation. If you know someone who would benefit from hearing about today's topic, be a friend and click the share button on this post right now and let them know that we're here. Today, we are pleased to bring you Acrobatic Arts CEO and founder Mandy Yip with a bite-sized tutorial on how to use the AcroDance Resource Center in class. As the founder and CEO of Acrobatic Arts, Mandy does it all. She manages the staff and the delivery of all training programs and the Acrobatic Arts syllabus. Over 500,000 dancers participate in Acrobatic Arts classes on a weekly basis. Mandy created the Acrobatic Arts Training and Certification Program and the Acrobatic Arts Curriculum, producing, as many of you know, the most comprehensive researched program available for AcroDance. A lifetime learner, Mandy has achieved certification in countless courses. She sits on the advisory board for YPAD and assists on the mission of keeping kids safe in dance through this organization. She's highly sought after for workshops and has taught thousands of dance teachers and provided expert classes around the world. She is known for bringing passion, technique, and in-depth practical knowledge to engaging classes, which is why she's here today. Mandy, welcome.
Thanks, Carolyn. I'm so happy to be here again. I love coming to Weekly Minis.
We love it when you drop in, but we also love it when you present based on what people know of you and what they don't know of you and what they might have heard in your bio. You obviously have a passion for this, and that's why everybody who's on the receiving end of what you produce is so very lucky, including the AcroDance Resource Center, which is really an online digital syllabus for dance teachers in AcroDance. Yes?
Yeah, exactly. So when we first put together the curriculum 11 years ago, and we first started teaching teachers, they came to the course, they loved the course, they said, this is great. They got their manual with all the pictures in it. But when they got back to the studio, they had a hard time remembering just what everything was supposed to look like. And on top of that, had a hard time demonstrating things because I don't know about you, but it's been a long time since I did a walkover or an aerial, and I don't think I've ever done a layout. So being able to show dancers what it's supposed to look like became really challenging for teachers in their classrooms. And that's why we built this system. At the time, all the curriculums that I could find were in VHS form. That's how the curriculum was delivered at the time. Digital wasn't even a thing. I think Netflix was still like mailing out CDs
Right.
or DVDs for you to watch at home. So this was pretty new, but I knew that I didn't want to have something where teachers had to purchase a new version of the syllabus every year as things changed. I wanted something that could be changed quickly and that everyone could get the information instantly. And so that's where the idea of putting it into an app and having it all digital came into play.
Right, which is why it really is, in my opinion, a very vast opportunity for teachers. In that there's not only the syllabus, but because you can provide those updates really on a day-to-day basis, as needed basis. And I know you talk about this, where if there is a demonstration of a certain skill, for example, and you find or you produce a more articulate or better skill, that you can just upload it and change that out immediately. That provides that ongoing resource for teachers that's so in the moment. But further to that, I know you'll get into it, but there's lots of other, even we could find your weekly minis on there as well. So
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. We're working with human children, videoing what the skills are supposed to look like. So of course, there's going to be flaws in the way that they're performing things. That was another choice that we made, was to find children who are actually working through the syllabus and working through the curriculum to be the people that we're videoing, not to have we at one point looked at having a robot or having cartoons or someone draw what the skill is supposed to look like so that it would be absolutely perfect, but we decided to go with actual humans because that's more real, and as we find humans that can do it just a little bit better, we swap those humans out, and so the teachers are constantly getting the very best that we can find. And on top of that, as the world of acro changes and shifts and new things come in, new trends come in, we can upload those things in real time, literally in the minute as we're seeing those things happen, which means that teachers have the most up-to-date possible curriculum and videos available to them in their classrooms.
Right. Well, without further ado, I know that there's so many capabilities and opportunities within the app for teachers. So why don't you give us a bit of a tour and show us what you've got
Sure.
today?
Yeah, I'd love to. So the AcroDance Resource Center actually comes in two parts. So this is the teacher version of it, and I'm going to show you in a minute the student companion app called My Acro app that goes along with this program. It's really cool how they work together, and it can actually earn money for your studio and earn money for your teaching practice instead of costing you money. And I'll teach you how that works in a moment as well. But we have teachers who pay for their subscription to this program and make extra money on the side, you know, enough to go to another workshop or even just to go out for dinner with their husband on the weekend or something like that. So that's a really awesome way that you can have extra education for yourself and provide value for your students and it not cost you a penny. So I'll just run through quickly a few things that I'm not going to talk about today. The first one is the syllabus here. This is probably the most important button, but we're not really going to touch on it too much today. When you click here, you'll find every video in our curriculum, and you can sort them by level, category, alphabetically, and you can also note your favorites and hold them here so that you can find them quickly. If you click on level and you go into any particular level, you'll see the 28 skills that are required for that level, and you can click on any of those videos and watch the videos, learn a little bit about what the focus of that skill is, and also click previous and next progression. So these are really cool buttons here where you can click a button and find out what this dancer should be working on before they learn that skill. And you can keep going backwards in progression until you get to things that are very, very simple. And the opposite, you can go forward in progression by clicking next progression. So in classrooms where you have multi-levels, which if you teach acro, you know you teach lots of levels in a class, that is a really great tool that allows you to give a base skill to the entire class, but then also be able to find skills that are easier for that student that's a little bit weaker or maybe newer in your class, and then also find skills for that superstar who needs to be challenged. And you can go up and down from any skill in our syllabus in that manner, which is a really cool feature. In this button here, which we're also not really going to talk about too much today, we feature content every month, and this changes every month. So we're almost at the end of May, and new content will be posted here in June, which kind of keeps your classrooms fresh too. It gives you, if you want to just follow what we're doing in our classrooms each month, you can just click on that button and find out what I'm doing in my classroom and just do what I'm doing if you're not totally sure what you should have a focus on for the month. And then down here at the bottom of this page, you see our entire library. And this is what you were alluding to earlier, Carolyn, that you can find every weekly mini we've ever posted here in this section. So here are all, what are we at now? Something like 61 episodes, and there's probably even more coming. So all of those can be found easily that way. This instructional video part has all of these different kinds of instructional videos from the very best in our industry. I really love this part here on skills, which is this button right here. And this shows how to teach all of these skills. So you're going to actually be with me or one of my colleagues in a classroom, and I'm going to speak to you as the teacher and teach you how to teach. Everything from a beginner bridge and kick over to more difficult things like a 540 or a raise or some of the newer skills that we're seeing come out in trending right now. So that is also a really fantastic tool. Our manual is here. These lesson plans are awesome. They've been curated by some of the best teachers in the industry as well. So when I click here on lesson plans, I can click on any of these versions, and you can see that we have lesson plans for primary through level 3. So it would be a more beginner type class, all the way to super advanced skills like this level 8 to pre-pro 3, which is a lesson on walkover variations and back layouts. And you can see that there's also weeks listed. So this series is a 6-week series, for example, and you could start at week 1 and go through each week and have all 6 of your weeks ready to go. I'm just going to click here and view one of these so we can see what that might look like. So minute by minute, this is a 60-minute class. Here's what you're going to do for cardio. You can read a little bit about it. You can also watch videos of dancers performing all of the things that you're going to do in the cardio, in the warm-up, and moving on down as we go through the class to our skills, our drills, and as I said before, all of these things have videos. So I can click on that. I can watch a dancer do this skill and see what it is supposed to look like. And although I do know what a bridge recover is, and I could probably describe it. I can definitely not do it as well as Megan does it here in this video. So it sure is nice to have Megan demonstrating it perfectly every single time I ask her to do it, even though I don't have her in my classroom with me all the time. So that is a really awesome tool to be able to show the dancers. I think, sometimes we underestimate how much dancers and humans in general emulate what they see. And when they see something that is a little bit sloppy, then they kind of do things that are a little bit sloppy. And when they see things that are done excellently, they're more likely to be able to emulate that and recreate that same level of excellence. So having something like this really can help with that, rather than even having maybe your assistant teacher showing it with the flaws that your assistant teacher might have. So that's the sort of the majority of what this program does, but I did skip this important button, and this is the one I really want to talk about today, because this is the one that I use the most in my classroom. So when I click on this button, it allows me to video the students that are in front of me right in my classroom. So I can click on this button and I can actually record the dancer as they're performing their skills, and then I can play it back for them, and I can play it back in slow motion so that they can see what they look like. That is a great tool for them to see that their arm did swing out to the side, or that their head was the first thing to come up on their bridge recover. But what's even better than that is to use this tool here called video comparison. And this allows me to take the video that I just took of my student and pop it up here into this blank spot. So I'm going to show you one that I took just last week here of a back handspring sit drill. So I have this dancer and she is working on her back handspring sit drill. And I have that popped up here, but now I'm going to compare it to the video that's in the syllabus that does that same thing. So here's that same drill, but with our demonstrator doing the skill. And then I'm going to click compare. I'm going to pop both of them up here on my screen. You can see that they're not exactly synced up. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to click this button here, and I am going to flip them around so that they're both facing the same direction. And then I am going to actually sync them up by putting them one on top of the other like this. Okay, so now we're going to watch these dancers do this same drill at the same time, and I'm going to pause them here. Okay, so now they've both done the sit at the same time. Here's my dancer kind of in the forefront that I just had at practice the other day. And the dancer who's in the background, you can kind of see her. That's the dancer that's on the app. What's really awesome about this is I can click this button here, and it allows me to slide the transparency back and forth. So now I can see this dancer's body position, and I can see my dancer's body position, and I can do a really in-depth analysis of what the difference between their body positioning is. And I can see, and I'm sure anyone can see, even to the eye that's untrained, you can see that there are some major differences in the way that these two drills are being done, and how this dancer is sitting compared to how this dancer is sitting. And that makes it really easy for me to bring that up to show my dancer who's in the classroom with me right there in real time what they're supposed to look like and how they look different than the skill that I'm asking them to perform. So that is just such a great way for us to communicate with our students in a visual manner. And the way that kids are learning right now, that is how they learn, right?
Totally. Yeah. I have a dancer in my life, and you get those adjudication videos that come back after competition, or it's just so remarkable when a dancer or a student gets to see what they look like, because sometimes I also teach fitness, and sometimes what people think that they feel like they're in their body, once they see that visually, it changes everything for them, because what they see is they realize what they're feeling is not what they think they look like is not what they look like. Do you know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Yes.
Totally.
Yeah. And so videoing yourself is one thing, but actually that video comparison is super powerful. We should have that everywhere. And the fact that the app has that is like, it's mind blowing to me. And the fact you can slow it down and change it. Yeah. Hello. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really does. It changes the way that everything's done in the classroom. And I think it's time that we move with the times, and we have to teach the way that children are learning. So I hear dance teachers say all the time, like, that's not how we did it. Went back in the 80s, you came in, you did your lunges, and then you whatever. And we worked so much harder. I don't know, did we really work that much harder, or did we just work differently? And And us trying to like pull them back to the 80s and saying this is how it's done isn't real. We have to come with them, and we have to teach them the way that they are learning. And this is how they're learning. This is how they learn in their schools. Screens are everywhere for them. And this is a method that they understand and that they can get on board with. And it's fun for them to see it. And they really do make massive changes when they can see the difference between what they're doing and what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, and further to that, as teachers, like I find in listening to you, what confidence this must create in the classroom for a teacher who, whether you have experience in acro or not, teaching or not, uh, like you said, there's some skills that we can't demonstrate anymore, or maybe some of us come new to teaching and to teaching acro, and we've never done those skills at all. And so the confidence with the class preparation in having a class plan, you can use it or not use it, take bits and pieces of it, take the theme, like just the inspiration, the jump off points, not to mention an action plan, whatever you want to take from it. Like, to me, the confidence it would give a teacher must be super powerful as well.
Absolutely. And I think there's so much value in the fact that the amount of people who have come together to curate the content that's on here, we've done decades, probably over 100 years if you put everybody's experience together, and we've put it all into one place. So we've done all the work, and you can jump off from where we left off rather than starting at the beginning and taking decades to learn all of these things. Take what we've already put together from, like I said, all these experts in the industry, and jump off from there. You'll just be so much further ahead. If I had this when I started, imagine where I'd be now. And teachers can have that now, and imagine where they will be in 10 years after a decade's worth of work, but with this foundation, right?
Right. So the power of the application. You put it together for all the reasons that you did. And what would you say for teachers knowing there's all that content, there's all that, is it like you've taken us through it very carefully, step by step? What would you suggest for teachers who are new to the AcroDance Resource Center in terms of understanding the power of it? What's there? Like, where do they start with it?
Yeah, great question. So I'll just share a screen again with you, and I'll tell you where I would start if I was brand new to the whole thing. So there's two places that I would really focus on: this lesson plan button here and the syllabus button here. So if you are new to teaching acro, start here at the lesson plan. Start with a primary type lesson. So start at the very beginning. That's the very best place to start, as Julie Andrews taught us, and do a week 1 lesson. And from here, you can really see all of the things that you should be working on in your class so that you don't miss any important steps. So that's where I would start. And I would go through this literally minute by minute, do exactly what we have curated for you here, and do all of the skills. And you'll see that it actually works out to being exactly 60 minutes or exactly 45 minutes, whatever kind of lesson you choose. The other place that I would go is to the syllabus. And again, I would start at the very beginning. So go to level and then click primary. That's the best place to start, and go through all 28 skills in primary with your classroom and see if they can do all of those skills. And if they can, then you get to move on to level 1. But try not to skip any important foundation pieces along the way. So don't do a few things from primary and then say, well, the plank hold, that's a little bit too hard for us, so we're going to just move on and do handstands. Well, no, there's a reason why there's a plank here in primary. That definitely make sure that you hit all of these important steps before you skip forward to the next level. And we have these awesome cards that make it really easy to keep track of your students' progress, and especially as your students start to separate in their levels. Because what happens, even if we all start at the same level and we're all exactly the same on day 1, some kids are going to learn faster than others. And so those kids are going to need to be challenged more quickly than the other students who are going to need to keep working on the foundations until they really have them solid. So this button here in featured, again, scrolling down here to our full library and going to teaching tools, we have these great cards called progress cards. You can see it right here. And when I click on that, it brings up all of the skills that, for this example, are in level 3. So here is all of the flexibility required, the strength, the balance, the limbering, and the tumbling. And there's a little box here for you to put your sticker, your initial, or whatever to keep track of the dancer's progress. You can email this directly to your printer and have your printer print them off onto little postcards. I have, yeah, they're right here. So here's my little postcards all ready to go for my classrooms. And then the students will have one, each student will have their own card and keep track of their progress. So we created this great system, but then we went one step further because I just love digital. And as I said before, that's how kids are learning. And we created the same thing in a digital format. So that's something that we call My Acro app. So I'm going to show you that real quick. It's this button here. And I'll just take you to the beginning where this is what it would look like. When you first open it, you'll see all of the levels. But when your dancer downloads it, it costs them nothing to download it from the App Store. But when they click on any of these buttons, they're going to just see a picture, and it won't actually allow them to click or to see the skills in that level. It will allow them to purchase it directly from the App Store, and there's a cost there. It'll be different depending on the country that you're in because Apple sets those prices. But because the AcroDance Resource Center and My Acro app work together, I can actually put levels onto my students' devices in the level that I think is appropriate for their development. So I've preloaded this version here with level 3 so we can see what it looks like. And instead of it saying purchase, it now says view level up here. So when I click on that, I can see all of the skills that are required for level 3. And I could click on any of those skills and I could watch a dancer perform that skill. So this is for your student to practice at home and to see what the skills are supposed to look like that they are supposed to be working on without having access to the thousands of videos that are in our current library, because that can be a little bit overwhelming for them, I think. It does give them the focus, so what things they should be working on for their technique. It tells them a little bit about what the exam will look like if they're planning to take exams. So that is also fantastic. And just like in our other app, it allows them to video themselves and do a comparison and then give themselves a check mark, as you can see here, once they have completed that skill. So just like in the cards that I was showing you earlier, it gives the dancer and the teacher the ability to check off their skills as they get them and keep track of their progress until they have all of their skills complete and they're ready to move on to the next level. So that's how My Acro app works. I'll show you where you find that in the AcroDance Resource Center, which we've already been looking at. This is the teacher version. So here again in Assist Student, these buttons down here allow me to share levels with my dancers and to manage share levels. You can purchase different packages with our program. So you can get 5 share levels or you can get 150 share levels, depending on what you need for your students, or even more than that. We have some teachers that actually have more than that. And you can keep track of them here. As your students go through a level and complete it and are ready for that next level, you can take back a level and give them a new one so that you're not using up extra levels, if that makes sense. So the way that we suggest you take care of your managed levels is to rent them out to your students for the time that they require them. And when they're finished with that level, you're going to just disable it and give them a different level. So I could add for my student here, her name is Jennifer. I could give her a different level now. Let's say she's finished level 3. I'm going to give her level 4 and I'll click submit. Okay, and it says it's been shared successfully. So now when I go back into my shared levels, I have 2 levels that are out. But let's say I want to take this one back because I don't want her to have level 3 anymore and I want to give a level to a different dancer. All I'm going to click is disable. And now that level is back into my pool. And in this particular plan, I have 35 levels that I can share. And as you can see right now, I have 1 of them out. So I can share up to 35. And if you need more, then you can purchase more. What we've found is that, as I said before, some teachers, because they're renting these levels out to their students and they have a lot of students that are working through the programming, they're actually paying for those memberships for the teacher, and the teacher is out no money, and in fact, sometimes earning extra income by doing this process.
Right. And I see that as a win-win for the teacher and the studio, that direction, but for the students and the teacher, a different level of accountability and ability to support in practice at home. And it's kind of exciting and cool for the students to have access to that. And if it's being used well, then, you know, they get to move on to the next one and one gets taken away. So it's isolated and focused. And there's an accountability because there's value attached to it for everyone involved.
Exactly. And the parents that we've talked to, especially for the teachers who are really doing this program well, they have no problem paying $20 a year to rent out their level. And it doesn't take many people at $20 a year to pay for your entire subscription. So it really does make a huge difference for the dancer at home and the parent. I mean, really, when you think about how much they're spending on dance in general, that extra $20, it's kind of like a drop in the bucket. As a dance parent, I'm sure
Well,
you are
yeah,
aware.
and how often do you feel like your hands are tied as a parent because you want to help your child with what they're doing and help them practice or even, sit with them and practice, and how can you be an active participant in that with knowledge, and the knowledge is right there in front of you. They're learning it in class and you're just reinforcing and not making up things you don't know or trying to answer questions you can't solve. So that's a beautiful thing. I love that. That's great.
Yeah. So that in a nutshell is that part of the app. There is so much more to discover on the AcroDance Resource Center, but in our little mini today, those are the things that I wanted to really focus in on.
Okay, so now I have to put you on the spot. You've created this, you know it inside out, but do you take because I'm thinking about this, first of all, just to backstep, for new teachers and people that we talked about that, not getting overwhelmed by the app. You gave us some steps, but it is one of those things you probably want to take some time for, on the couch one evening or wherever you're at, and just really find your way through it and see what really lives on the app. And you may have to go back a few times to find your way there again, but you can make notes or whatever. It's just really getting yourself familiar with it. But then you go to activate it, use it in class, use your lesson plan. Do you prepare for it all in advance and then put the iPad away, or do you yourself take it into class? Like, what's your process?
So I usually prepare the lesson plan ahead of time. I want to know what I'm going to do minute to minute and kind of have that idea in my head. So I'm not going to, be at the classroom going through the lesson plan. What is this video clicking on? I'll have prepared before I get into the classroom. But then if I forget something, it's really easy for me to click on it and say, oh yeah, now I remember what that's supposed to look like. So with the lesson planning, that's how I do it. But for all of the rest of it, I bring my iPad into class every single week, and the dancers actually sit around and look at it when I want to introduce a new skill, or even when it's an old skill that we've been doing forever, but we are having some kind of technical breakdown in class. I pull out the iPad there and we all look at it and we slow it down. And I say, look at the angle of this, look at where her legs are here. Do you see where her shoulders are? Your shoulders are here, her shoulders are there. We need to fix those things. And it just works so beautifully in class for them to see it in real time and then to go back out onto the mat and give it another try.
Very, very cool. I love it. Awesome. All right. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about the AcroDance Resource Center?
I think just that if you don't already have it, you really are missing out on an important part of your classroom. So give it a try. That is the best thing that I could say. And for those teachers who are a little bit worried about renting out levels, again, just give it a try. I think you'd be surprised at how receptive parents would be to actually have that in their hand. And sometimes we think, well, I don't want to push that on them. I think that you're actually doing them a disservice because you're not giving them all the tools that are available to them to actually get to the next level. They're in dance for a reason. They want to get to the next level. And by giving them all the tools available, they're actually going to appreciate that. So I know dance teachers are notoriously afraid of asking for money, but in this case, I think really, there is a huge advantage to doing that. And when you compare, like I said, $20 a year to rent out a level compared to the thousands of dollars that they're spending on costumes, it is really a drop in the bucket. So just, have the courage to go out there and actually try it.
Sure, I think it's a great idea. And so we did go through a lot today, and there's a lot for teachers to consider. But in a nutshell, like anything we know, you got to this place with your dance teaching and your career so far. All of these things, once you get in there and you start looking around, I think, they'll see the value in that, and then they'll know where to click and how to get it. And it is quite intuitive. So, like you said, be courageous and bold, and take your students and yourself really to the next level, and have that extra level of support in your classroom. It is, like you've said before, having an assistant that you may or may not have in a very, very unique way. And even your assistant may not be able to do some of those things that are on the app itself. And the planning, anyway, it's amazing. So Mandy, what people can do is they can go onto the website. There's more information about the AcroDance Resource Center at acrobaticarts.com. Mm-hmm. if they need help and support with the app or have any further questions, of course, we didn't mention at the top, but this was pre-recorded live. So we can't take any live questions, but they can certainly put them in the comments today. And then we can come back, Mandy can come back, our admin team can come back and help answer any questions about the AcroDance Resource Center there, or you can email us at admin@acrobaticarts.com and we'll be happy to help you get started in this wonderful opportunity for you and your students.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Carolyn.
Okay, thank you, teachers. Thank you, Mandy, for being here. I will also put in the comment section today. Mandy has done other weekly minis in regards to the AcroDance Resource Center. And so we will share those in the comments so that you can click through and get yourself comfortable with all that there is here for you as you move forward. And certainly, like I said, you can reach out and ask us any questions. Join us again next week. We'll see you then. Thank you very much, teachers. Have an incredible day. Bye.
Bye.